Today we're making an excellent side dish. It's eggplant with potatoes. And it's a very simple dish, but with a little bit of effort, it comes together beautifully and it tastes really good with rice or Indian bread. Let's get oil heating in a pan. To this, I'm going to add about half a teaspoon of cumin. You see it starts to change color. Almost immediately, I'm going to add my eggplant and potatoes that have been chopped up and washed. So going back to my trusty masala box, I have my basic spices. So we'll do some salt to taste, a little turmeric powder, some cayenne pepper. If you don't like heat, don't put as much, just put whatever you can handle. Some paprika for color, a little garam masala, and 2 teaspoons of coriander powder. Now I'm using a homemade coarsely ground coriander powder, but if you have store-bought, by all means go ahead and use that. It's totally fine. So I'm going to give this a good mix and then I'll cover it for a couple of minutes. So my dish is now covered and it's just simmering in its own moisture. The salt that we added is going to help the eggplant release some moisture and soften up a little bit. In the meantime, I have prepped my 1 tomato chopped into medium cubes. So I just removed the lid. As you can see, there's not that much moisture that came out of the vegetables. And it really depends from season to season when you're making it. But it really depends on how much moisture comes out based on what time of year you're cooking it. Anyway, so at this point, my potatoes are really hard. The eggplant has way to go. So this is a good time to add my tomatoes, which will actually add moisture to the dish. So I'm going to go ahead and add my 1 chopped tomato. In this dish, actually, tomato purees work beautifully. So if you have canned tomatoes, crushed tomatoes, tomatoes with garlic, or tomato puree, just feel free to go and add that. It works beautifully. It ends a beautiful color to the dish and it works like a charm. So there's my tomatoes. I'm going to give it a stir and then put the lid back on. So I removed the lid and I'm looking at it. The potatoes are kind of semi-soft. The tomatoes are pretty much softened up. So is the eggplant. So now I have to just wait for the potatoes to become really soft. They're about halfway there. So maybe I'll just add a tad bit of water and then put the lid back on again. The eggplant is coming together beautifully. As we let it simmer under a cover, you'll see that the eggplant starts to break down. The potatoes start to soften around the sides. The tomatoes are completely disintegrated. And a tad bit of oil is starting to skim to the top. So we know it's going to be done in a bit. At this point, I'm going to add cilantro. And I'm going to put the cover back on for just a few more seconds. So the eggplant and the potatoes are ready. You can see it's a dry dish, so it lends itself really well to be eaten with naan bread or rotis. And it smells really amazing in here. It's very simple with few ingredients, but yet it's a very effective dish. And I've tried to make it with minimal oil, but it's nice and healthy. You'll just sprinkle it with a little garam masala at the end and it's ready to serve.